Okay, now that we've looked at all the different types of special quadrilaterals we can have, we're going to look a little further and deeper into specific types of quadrilaterals and their properties. And we're going to start with the parallelogram family first. Remember from the quiz today and from last week that parallelograms are quadrilaterals that have opposite sides parallel to each other. So this is going to come from section 6.2 in the textbook. All right, so as I just said, and as we talked about earlier, the definition of a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite sides parallel. Now, when we have a parallelogram, there are special properties other than the opposite sides being parallel that we're going to talk about. The first property, which we've already discussed, but we haven't really recorded it, is that opposite sides are congruent to each other. So I always know anytime they tell me I have a parallelogram, that means that the opposite sides are going to be the same. Our second property is that opposite angles are congruent. So the ones that are across from each other, the two red are congruent to each other, and the two blue. So let's say the two red were 130. The two blue would each be 50. So if I know I have a parallelogram, I can automatically say that the opposite angles are congruent. The third property are that consecutive angles are supplementary. And we really already know this because if these sides are parallel, I know that these two have to be supplementary because they're same side interior, and these two have to be supplementary. I also know these sides are parallel, so these two are supplementary, and these two. So any two that come right after each other are always going to add to get 180 degrees. So the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B is 180, B plus C, C plus D, and D plus A. Any of those formulas can be used to find missing angles. And our fourth property of parallelogram deals with the diagonals. The diagonals are going to bisect each other. So recall, to bisect means cut in half. So this point right here would be the midpoint of this diagonal and the midpoint of this diagonal. So this piece has to equal this piece, and this piece has to equal this piece. So we will do practice tomorrow in class and look at a lot of different types of problems where we have parallelograms and we have to solve for missing pieces.